What am I to do?
Welcome to Razor Branding Podcast with Jackie Russo. To learn more about how to improve your brand, visit brandrusso.com.
Hi, welcome to Razor Branding Podcast. Y'all, this has been a day, let me tell you. So we started in the wee hours before the dawn even began to break, and we're going all the way to midnight. Why? Because it's National Podcast Day. And so what should somebody do on National Podcast Day? Have a podcast marathon, of course. And so that's exactly what we're doing. Big props to Connor and Blanche in my office who came up with the idea and made this happen. So every hour today, we're talking to a different nonprofit who's doing great work and needs your help and support because, COVID. So on this hour, we are so honored to be talking to Boys and Girls Club and Missy Andrade. Missy, tell us about your year. How's it been so far?
This has been the wildest year that we never could have anticipated. But all things considered, it's been an incredible year. One that, despite all of the challenges and obstacles, this team has proven to me time and time again what they are capable of. They can roll with the punches, they can adapt, they can get creative. They show up and work hard every single day to achieve our mission, which is to serve the kids who need us most in this community. And God knows that after the year that we've had, the needs of our kids are plenty. So it's been an incredible year. We want to finish out strong. And we've learned a lot along the way.
So, you're talking about all the work that your team has done in adapting. Is that why you now do all of your organization on sticky notes so you can just move things around as the year changes?
Yeah. Listen, as I think about what we set the year out to do and what we've done, it has allowed me to go back to the sticky notes to say, wow, we've done a really great job with this. Let's move it over to this person. Here's a gap that we've identified. Let's talk about how we can fill that. So yes, this is my sticky note playbook. Oftentimes I bring my staff in here. We move them. We bring them from person to person. And it at least makes us feel like we're accomplishing something great.
Right. It's funny. I think about the year that we've had, and I firmly believe all 2021 planners should be on a whiteboard. No writing on paper anymore. I used to think we should go pencil. Now I'm thinking we just go straight whiteboard so we can erase as the next dramatic thing happens. Because really, who could have predicted fires in Australia, not to mention the West Coast, social unrest, global pandemic, hurricanes, more hurricanes than ever before? I mean, have we ever been to gamma before? We ran out of words in the alphabet.
So look, maybe it's not a whiteboard, but if you go the Post-it note method, you just crumple it up and throw it away and move on to the next Post-it note.
I like it. I like it so much. So talk to me about, in terms of the adaptation y'all have had to do this year, in terms of fundraising and then all the extra services you've had to provide. So now you have less chance to make money and more needs for money. How are you filling the gap in there?
Yeah, it's a conundrum. For 50 years now, our value has really been within the walls of buildings, where kids could come to our clubs. They knew that they would be safe. They knew that there would be supervision, there would be food, structure, all of those things. And that was a big part of their Boys and Girls Club experience. And through COVID, suddenly, for a long period of time, we couldn't get kids into our building. And so we really had to get creative with how do you continue serving kids? How do you continue assessing their needs, their ever-changing needs in this new reality? And then now that we're back in our after-school program, we have kids physically in the building, but their needs do look a little bit different than they did, previously. So for us, we couldn't have anticipated it, but we did a lot of very kind of foundational grassroots work with our families to understand what they needed. We responded by launching a virtual club platform during the stay-at-home order, which the optimist in me was really excited about being able to kind of add that, feather to our hat that we now had a new delivery method for our families. And then getting back to school, it was never going to be the normal back to school program that we had. Lots of new health processes and social distancing protocols, you name it. But our team did a great job of identifying how we were going to shift and They've done a great job of coaching our kids into what the club is like now, how we sort of navigate this new experience, and really everyone is thriving.
That is awesome. And I would imagine as the kids have gone back to school and still want to be a part of Boys and Girls Club, y'all are filling a technology void for anybody who doesn't have internet connection at their house. They're probably able to get it at the clubs, right?
Yes, we have a computer lab at all of our clubs, a computer lab and Wi-Fi. So not only do kids have access to computers, but if they have their own device, we know that in many of the school districts, devices have been distributed to kids. They can bring those devices into our club to utilize. And even we've tried to educate ourselves on other resources available in the community. For instance, the new LPSS help desk that has been launched. Our club directors here in Lafayette have all of the information for what that looks like, so that our LPSS students kind of get an extra layer of support on the technological front. And you asked me a bit ago about fundraising. You know, we're an organization that historically is very heavy on event fundraisers. And look, that went out the window this year. How do you fundraise whenever you can't get people to gather? And so we've really doubled down on our mission, and we've really doubled down with communicating to our donors and with individuals in the community about the work that we do and the impact that we make. An event is awesome. An event helps you to share your story and to share your mission, but there, in my opinion, is nothing more impactful than developing a relationship with a donor, showing them the importance of the work that you do, and asking them to invest in your mission. So we've really tried to shift in that way. We're still doing some events. We're about to do a virtual gala, which is going to be very interesting. But this has really been about leaning on those relationships and bringing new donors into the fold too, who've looked at our work and they've said, you guys are making a difference despite really challenging circumstances, and we want to invest in you.
Well, and I would think that our teens and kids in this community need Boys and Girls Club now more than ever before. I mean, holy cow, you talk about no stability in your life. This gives them a safe haven. So anybody who's watching, please go to the Mighty Cause page for Boys and Girls Club of Acadiana, which is in the comments section and on the screen, and give. Every little bit is going to help. So let's talk about a virtual gala. How's that work? What are y'all doing?
Yes. Well, we just pulled our new and improved committee together earlier this week to talk about it. We've done a gala for many years, and so this is really just about pivoting to put this in a virtual space as opposed to strictly having an event with people coming together. We've always had elements of a silent auction and a live auction, mission moments where we have some of our club kids come forward and talk about their club experience. So we are going to do that in a virtual setting. Our team has some great partners in the media world. We have really built up our inventory of mission-focused videos, and we're hoping to utilize a lot of those assets in this virtual gala space, but we will have the traditional fundraising elements, a raffle, and like I said, a silent auction, a live auction, where people will be able to support kind of at a variety of levels. And wonderfully, our long-term sponsors stepped up and said, it's okay that we're not doing an in-person event. This is still incredibly important to us. Let's get creative with how we promote this. So we've had those longtime sponsors who are still very committed to what we're doing and helping to support this new virtual gala.
I mean, isn't it amazing how people will just step up when you need them to most?
Yeah, it is amazing, and it's humbling, and it's a reminder to me of what our mission means to people. Even, what our mission means to people who maybe don't even necessarily need the services that we provide, but perhaps their employees do, or other members of their community do. It's just always kind of a humbling thing whenever someone steps up and says, y'all are killing it despite a really hard year, and kids need you, as you said, more than ever before. So let's do this. Here you go. Here's how I can help you get the job done.
Right. No, it's amazing to me. I am constantly stunned, and today even more so, at how incredible our community is and all the links that they go to step up and help support.
Agreed. I tell people all the time, you have to ask yourself how you're investing in your community. And I want to believe that our mission at Boys and Girls Club is one that would resonate with anyone, because it's an investment in kids, which translates into a lot: an investment in the future of a community, an investment in education, an investment in social and emotional support. But regardless, no matter who you are and no matter what your capacity is, you need to really think about what you care about, what you're passionate about, and look at an organization who is doing great work in your community and invest in it. It really is true that any amount helps. Even if you're a tiny one-time donor or a large monthly donor, whatever it is, it helps people achieve their mission and to bring those really important services to those who need us most.
Right. Yeah. No, large monthly donors. That's what we're going for, Missy. Don't settle. No, you're right, though. Yeah. Every little bit is going to help. And so anybody that can go to Boys and Girls Club of Acadiana's Facebook page or website or Mighty Cause page and donate, we sure would appreciate your help. So talk about the services. Obviously, with LPSS being back in school, all the technology that y'all are offering has been great. But talk about the other things you're doing that gives parents a chance to go back to work.
Yeah, so something we're really proud of, we were able to open up for our summer program, a 6-week summer program over the summer. And it was something, once COVID happened, we really didn't know if that was going to be a possibility. And even though we had to modify our numbers and serve less kids per site because of social distancing and everything else, we still provided summer experiences to 250 kids throughout the region. And that wasn't only them getting to come somewhere fun for the day. That meant that meals were provided. They were doing STEM projects, and we were bridging the gap academically for them. They were being supervised. They were having a good time, all that. It also meant in many cases that mom and or dad got to go back to work. And they knew that they had a reliable place for their kids to be that was affordable, and it was a place that they were enjoying. So we're really proud of that. For our after school program, again, it was such a moving target. We didn't know what we were going to be able to do. And we did settle on our traditional 4-hour program. And for us, there's a lot of people, as kids were getting back to school, they were still trying to figure out, what are we going to do? How am I going to pick my kids up at 2:00? I can't leave work early. So just being able to get our doors open, to accept kids off of the school bus from school, and to get them into our clubs, get their homework done, get them fed, get them participating in all of these programs. Number one, it's about the kid, but it is absolutely supporting parents too, because they know that their child is in a great place for an after-school program, and they can get back to what they need to do.
Well, and I would think with some of the rec centers going through some challenges of funding, that this has really been great for parents to know that there's a reliable, safe place for their kids with responsible adults, supervision, and organized activities. I mean, what a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah, and before we even started this year out, as we were kind of doing our own internal strategic planning, there were a few things that really jumped out at me that we wanted to focus on. We wanted to ensure that our clubs were safe. We wanted to focus on having adequately trained staff, and we wanted our programs to be more quality and more impactful. And I think a lot of people don't realize that whenever you're coming to the Boys and Girls Club, it's not just unstructured fun, that we are offering programs that are intended to make an impact and to make a difference. And so even throughout all of the changes this year, whether we're talking about the virtual setting, the modified summer program, and now in this after school program, we are accomplishing all of those things. We are focusing on making our club safer, on ensuring that our staff, not only that they're trained, but they're young people too. They need support. They've gone through a lot this year as well. So how are we supporting our staff? We know that that's going to translate into a better experience for our club kids. And then, of course, on the program and quality piece, we have doubled down on our academic programs. We are offering Project Learn in all of our clubs, which is really intended to solidify that academic foundation. We are not school. We are never going to be a replacement for school, but we can really get those kids into our clubs and help to fortify what they're doing in the classroom, particularly after 6 months of no formal instruction.
Right. I can only imagine the brain drain that happened during that 6 months. I know at our house, it was pretty severe. And for a while I thought about, we had a summer reading club amongst the kids. We played games. And then it was like, that's fine, just watch Netflix. Like, I get it. I don't feel like doing anything with my brain either. You just want to take a break sometimes and escape the world, not try to conquer it. So, talk to me about some of the programs. I know you've mentioned a few things, whether it was STEM programs. Walk me through some of them and how the kids are, I'm sure, adapting and loving them.
Yes. So I really like to share with people that at Boys and Girls Clubs, we have 3 priority outcomes. And so all of our programs really roll up into these 3 areas. So academic success, as I said, we are not school, but we know that our kids have different needs. Maybe it's just completing homework. Maybe it's helping to get their reading skills and their reading levels up. Maybe it's helping them in math, whatever it may be. We have staff on site that are there to help our kids to ensure that they are progressing academically. And kids who come to Boys and Girls Clubs, their grade progression percentage is about 98%. Does that mean that they are succeeding because of us? Well, I think it's succeeding in part because we are there to support them in the right way. So academic success is that first piece. Good character and citizenship. We want to be a part of really developing these kids, showing them what responsibility looks like, showing them what leadership opportunities look like. And so a number of our programs, Smart Girls, Passport to Manhood, Torch Club, Keystone Club, these are all programs that they can be a part of that will develop those skills, develop them as leaders, and develop them as good members of their community. And then healthy lifestyles. In part, that is recreation-focused activities. Every kid loves a good game of dodgeball, and we do have that at all of our clubs. But also, we partner with great people like the Junior League who come in and operate Kids in the Kitchen, where they're talking about healthy eating habits and taking care of your body. So all of our programs really roll up into those 3 items. And donors, supporters, volunteers, they're always really surprised when they come into our clubs to be able to see that structure. Oh, I didn't realize that they were doing, different programs while they were in here. And they do. That's not to take away from the fact that they do have fun. They do have the ability to choose. They can go into the computer lab. We have gaming systems if they want to play, Xbox or PlayStation. We have that, but that's not all that we do.
That's amazing. So when I think about the number of kids you serve, hundreds, all the programs you have in place, what's next? I mean, how are y'all continuing to grow and expand, especially coming out of this crazy year that we've had?
Sure. So I've asked myself a lot of questions in the last 2 years since I've been here about quality versus quantity. We want to serve as many kids as possible, but we want them to have a very quality experience. So a lot of our growth has really been about rebuilding ourselves internally to really feed into that quality piece. And to be able to measure the impact that we're making, and then to be able to make decisions based on what we're learning about the work that we're doing. So that's a piece of it. And COVID has also forced that as well. You can't just open your doors to whoever. You have to control the space a little bit more so that everyone remains healthy. On the growth front, though, we are always talking with our leaders at the various school districts to ensure that from a recruitment standpoint, families and kids know that the Boys and Girls Club is available to them. Additionally, we were on track to open a new club site in Lake Charles in September. Because of the hurricane, we're in a little bit of a standstill. We're going to get back on track with our timeline. Fortunately, the club site really did not have much in the way of damage after the storm.
Wow.
And so once cleanup is kind of underway, we will open that club site, and we cannot wait to get into Lake Charles, which, arguably the kids in that community really need a Boys and Girls Club more than ever. And then there's communities that come to us all the time asking about bringing a club to their kids. And we have really positioned ourselves as an organization to be able to respond to that need, to build out a very clear plan for, what it means to open a club, what's expected of the community, how we come in and serve. So we want to be everywhere that we can possibly be. We want to do it in a responsible and sustainable manner. And so for us, growth has been not only about numbers and not only about communities, but also about really honing in on the quality piece so that when we go to a new community, what we're bringing to them is the best possible service.
Right. I think about all the people who look around at the world today and have comments on how people should do this or should do that. To me, if you feel like you're dissatisfied with something going on in the world and you want to make it better, donating to the Boys and Girls Club was the first step to making the world a better place, because you are getting into neighborhoods where kids could be troubled, could be at risk, and you are providing them with an outlet for education, for meals, for essential knowledge of how to live strong, good, healthy lives and put their lives on the right track to being productive citizens. Yeah. It's the best solution, and it ties it all in together.
Yeah, I listened to another podcast recently interviewing a police chief from the Northeast who was talking about the difference that a Boys and Girls Club made in a very challenging neighborhood. And he was basically saying, if I could put a Boys and Girls Club in each neighborhood where we're experiencing crime and poverty and all of these things, I would happily invest in that as opposed to, ramping up the police force. Because what you see with a Boys and Girls Club is real investment in the lives of kids. We really want to ensure that we're supporting them however they need so that they can define the next chapter of their life. That their life doesn't necessarily have to be defined by whatever challenges they're experiencing or whatever challenges they were born into. And so I agree with you. And I'm the CEO of the organization, so of course I'm going to agree. But I hear kids constantly when you say, what's your favorite thing about a Boys and Girls Club? 9 times out of 10, it's a staff member. I really love Mr. Brian or Miss Bree. They spend time with me. They listen to me. They're a great mentor. They believe in me. They support me. And those positive adult relationships can be the deal breaker. I mean, that's what sets so many kids up for success, or potentially doesn't because of that lack of relationship. So often it comes down to people. That's one thing that we're really thinking through right now. How do we continue recruiting great people into our clubs, because we know that's going to be the difference maker for our kids.
Right. Thinking back to what you heard the police chief say on that podcast, to me, when I hear politically charged words like defund the police, what I think they mean is invest in programs, therefore the police won't be required. And if you think about it that way, Boys and Girls Club is exactly the right place to invest, because the more we put in these proactive solutions, the less we have to worry about reactive solutions.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, in our region, we have unbelievable partnerships with law enforcement, with police, sheriffs, fire departments, you name it. In fact, Chief Robert Benoit, the fire chief for Lafayette Parish, has been on our board for nearly 2 decades. And I love getting the opportunity to bring those law enforcement officers into our clubs as people to come and establish relationships with our kids. It's a really powerful thing, I think, for everyone involved, for the kids, but also for the law enforcement officers, because this is really what community is all about. Building relationships with people, working together to solve problems. And I think we do a really great job of that at Boys and Girls Club. And I love that we can really kind of be the convener of those types of relationships.
Right. And so if you are thinking that everything Missy's talking about makes perfect sense, because it does, feel free to give and support Boys and Girls Club. You can do it through their website. You can do it through their Facebook page. You can do it through the Mighty Cause link that's in the comment section. But at the end of the day, the more we can do to support Boys and Girls Clubs and Missy and her team and their efforts, the more we can proactively help these kids have strong, productive lives. And I mean, that's ultimately what we're going for, right? So Missy, Exactly. How can people volunteer? Do you get a lot of people who can go through some volunteer training and give back?
Yes. Now we have shut down temporarily some of the volunteer opportunities because of COVID, because we really didn't have a choice. But oftentimes people reach out to us, and sometimes it's an individual saying, I really care about what you guys do. I want to give back. What can I do? And oftentimes we will ask them, well, what's your skill set? Do you have any, special talents or knowledge or whatever that may be? I can tell you in the past, there was a retired gentleman who came and taught golf lessons at one of our clubs a couple of times a week, uh, which I thought was really cool because golf is a sport that requires a ton of practice. It's also an expensive sport. It's not one that anyone can just play. So to have someone come to our club and teach a skill like that, I think was pretty cool. And it exposes our kids to maybe something that they never would have been exposed to otherwise. Same thing goes with, we've had some dance instructors who come and teach regularly. And, some of our kids at our clubs maybe attend a dance studio separately, but many of them don't. So this is an opportunity to do that. But even it's as simple as like, we host monthly birthday parties at all of our clubs. What a great chance to come in, volunteer for the birthday party, hand out some cupcakes, and just get to talk to some of these kids, establish a relationship. They love nothing more than when a new face walks into the building and they say, well, what's your name? What do you do? Well, what did you go to school for? They're so inquisitive and hungry for that knowledge. It's heartwarming. And it's the volunteers who constantly turn around and say, this meant more to me than it meant to these kids. We also have volunteer groups who will come in sometimes. So perhaps they want to do a project together. And we can always identify things within our clubs that we need to accomplish and we can do with a small group. So it just kind of depends. What we do have on our website is a volunteer interest form. So anyone can go to our website, put in their information. I think they can even specifically state which community they live in. If you want to volunteer in New Iberia, Abbeville, Opelousas, you can put that information in there, and then we will be in touch with you about what opportunities are available.
I love that. And when you talk about volunteering being more to the volunteer and the volunteer getting more out of it, I have found that true 9 times out of 10. And so it talks about, giving back to the community, you get back more than you give. It always holds water.
Well, and our volunteer base is really, it's across the board. I had a young lady reach out to me recently. She's a senior at Sacred Heart in Grand Coteau, and she asked if she could come and help tutor in math. And I thought, well, of course. I mean, we can definitely find an opportunity for that. And there are other teens and high school students in the community who will oftentimes just come to our club. And this is, very big picture, but I love this community. I love what we stand for and what we represent. We also have our own challenges, and we have to acknowledge some of those challenges. So anytime that we can get kids who are living 2 different experiences in the same place to get to know one another, to work with one another, to accomplish a project together, I think that will pay dividends in our community moving forward, where we understand that, not everybody has the same life as me, or the same privilege as me, or the same experience as me, but we're all living in the same community. We're all part of our success or our failure together. So how can we start building those bridges and those relationships now? Because at the end of the day, these are the kids who grow up to be the leaders in this community, and we all benefit from those well-rounded relationships.
Missy, I was trying to go one podcast without crying, and now you've ruined that for me. So thanks so much. Every hour so far, and I know partly I'm sleep deprived, but also it's partly because I love days like this. We hear about all of the bad stuff in the world on social media all the time. And today has been nothing but positive story after positive story of how our community comes together and does good work.
I love it.
It's heartwarming, for sure. I was talking earlier to Ashley Mudd when we did our Leadership Institute podcast, and we were talking about resources and connections and how being in an organization like the Leadership Lafayette class gives you all of this access, and that's real privilege when it comes down to it, because you have the privilege of knowing all these people, and those become great, resources for you. I think what you're doing and the connections that people can make through Boys and Girls Club kind of seems to work the same way.
I'm hopeful for that. I think for a long time, look, we've been here for 50 years. We've done amazing work. We've served thousands of kids over that period of time. But when I stepped into this leadership role a couple of years ago, I think that we had kind of taken a back seat. We were really letting people come to us, whether that was our club members, our families, or potential partners. And we've tried to be a little bit more proactive about that. Who do we want to be? What do we want to get our kids access to? How can we creatively establish partnerships that bring amazing things into our clubs and to our kids? Because I agree with that. I mean, I am a product of Leadership Lafayette. My time of employment at One Acadiana was more about establishing relationships and connections than anything I'd ever experienced in my life. And when I think about what's going to make us the best organization possible, it really is about connecting the dots for our staff and for our kids so that this world of opportunity is brought to them. They say it often, you don't know what you don't know. And when I think about the kids that we serve, I can think about myself. Like, I didn't have a great understanding. I knew I could do whatever I wanted, but I didn't really know all the options and opportunity that was out there. So I think the more great people, the more great partnerships that we can bring into the fold with Boys and Girls Club, we are increasing the chances for our kids to learn something, see something, experience something that allows them to say, I can do that, I can be that, and I know, how to navigate my way, or Boys and Girls Club can help me get there. So the more connection and partnerships that we can establish, it really serves everyone.
Absolutely. And I think that those connections are so important professionally and personally, because ultimately it is about, like you said, understanding different walks of life and realizing not everybody's just like me. And so that helps. But then knowing you've got somebody to call for that job interview, or to help you with a reference, or to ask if they, have encountered this organization before and what feedback they might have. That kind of thing. I mean, that's how deals get made on the golf course. So
Exactly.
you get to learn math, you get to learn golf, and you get a job out of the deal. That's a win-win.
Well, a ton of our kids actually turn around and come and work in our clubs, which I think is so cool. This year, the Louisiana State Youth of the Year, Zontre Scott, he is from Abbeville. He attended our Abbeville club for years. Over the last 2 years, he has been gunning for this Youth of the Year program, and he was victorious and won scholarship dollars and lots of other things through this Youth of the Year competition. And he actually came back this summer, applied for a job, and worked alongside the staff and with our kids. And when you think about how cool to have members of your team who have been club members, they understand the importance and the value, then they can turn around and provide that value to kids. And then for Zontre, he's starting at UL. He just started at UL in chemical engineering. And we have been able to make some of those additional connections for him. Not because even, he was asking for it, but because there was an opportunity to introduce him to someone or to get him involved in something. And we know that that's not done. And this is just one kid that we serve. I mean, there's thousands of others and thousands of other opportunities to do that same thing, to connect the dots and do whatever we can to support them in their path to success.
But just think about what each of these kids, and I know there are thousands of them, each of them now has at their disposal so many more tools for success, so many more opportunities to have the life they want to have and control their own destiny, to really live their best life. I mean, I hate the phrase, but in this case, it's perfectly applicable. And that's going to come from any donations that people make to Boys and Girls Club today. That's what we can do today to help make that a possibility for somebody tomorrow. So if you haven't already donated, please go to their website, go to their Facebook page, or go to the Mighty Cause page that's in the comments and give anything. It will help, and you can really help shape the destiny of these kids. Like I said, this is a proactive solution to making the world better rather than the police, which is a reactive solution when a problem has already occurred.
Something that I like to share with people, we keep our membership fees very, very low, because people often say, well, how are y'all funded? Well, we're a nonprofit. We do have membership fees for our families and for our kids, but those fees are representative of about 5 to 8% of our overall budget. And I share that with people very openly, because if we relied on just charging the families who come to the club, we wouldn't have an operation. We couldn't fund one of our clubs, much less 5 or 6 of them. And so we do rely on individual donations and on corporations to support us, and on grant funding as well. But Boys and Girls Clubs that are most successful are the ones that are well supported in their own community. I didn't really know what the Boys and Girls Club was or what it did until I was working for the Chamber of Commerce, and we were called to go and do a ribbon cutting because Capital One had funded a program within the club. And it was the first time I had ever been in, and I'm a lifelong resident of Lafayette. And that started me down this path of having a better understanding of what the Boys and Girls Club did. And then as I, reflect back after being the CEO here for 2.5 years, clearly I have a great understanding of what we do now, but we've really, really focused on the opportunity to make it so much better. And so when people invest in Boys and Girls Clubs, I hope that they know they're investing in a solid operation. They're investing in safety. They're investing in mentorship. They're investing in academic support. They're not just investing in like a fun free-for-all. I know I say that often, but you're investing in something that is really intended to make a difference. And we are extremely committed to keeping those fees low for families. We never want to be priced in such a way that Boys and Girls Club becomes exclusive. But in order to do that, and in order to remain committed to quality, we have to have investment from our own communities to do that well.
Right. No, absolutely. And so I think that it's crazy how little we all know about all the resources our community has, which was another reason for today. And so if you didn't already know how vital Boys and Girls Club was, now you do. And knowing, in the immortal words of G.I. Joe, knowing is half the battle. So now that you know, give. Hit the Mighty Cause page, make a little green ring in their account, and make sure that they know that you want them to continue to do the good work that they're doing. Missy, I know you've only been there 2.5 years, but how many kids are y'all serving on a monthly, annual, decade-long basis?
Well, I can tell you that in 2019, between our registered members and our other youth served, between our 5 clubs, we served about 5,000 kids.
Wow.
Yeah, and in some cases, so that's both our after-school program and our summer program. What you see in our rural communities, in particular during the summers, our numbers really balloon because there's limited options in those communities. And so we see hundreds of kids every day, literally. And then for our after-school program, daily, getting off the bus from various schools, some of our clubs have an average daily attendance of about 80, and one of our clubs here in Lafayette has about 200 kids each afternoon. Now, in COVID world, that's a little bit different.
Sure.
But we hope to continuously increase our existing numbers and accommodate those families who are on the waiting list so that we can serve as many kids as possible. But we could do some math, but over the last 50 years, thousands and thousands and thousands of kids in Acadiana have come through the Boys and Girls Club. And I meet people all the time who are former members. They can constantly tell me, oh, Mr. Mark, or whoever it may be. They always have a story about a staff member who made an impression on them. And I love it. It's a constant reminder, again, of the good work we've always done and of the importance of putting great people in our clubs.
That is awesome. Look, I'm not fancy with the math, so I had to turn to the calculator. But if, let's just say, you average 5,000 kids a year for those 50 years, that would be 250,000 kids over all those decades.
Unreal.
That's an impressive number.
Well, and we know that we didn't always have 5 clubs. So
Sure.
Today we have 2 in Lafayette, 1 in Abbeville, Opelousas, and New Iberia. And so over time, those numbers have certainly grown. However, it's been a lot. It has been a whole lot. And I would encourage people too, if you're listening to this and you are an alum of Boys and Girls Clubs of Acadiana, reach out. We want to know who you are. We want to know what you're doing. We want to know what your club experience was like because it makes us better.
Absolutely. I love hearing those case studies and those stories. I told you this when we talked a couple of months ago. I had the opportunity to work on a movie with Denzel Washington back when I was in Los Angeles, and he spoke so highly of his time, and I think truly credits most of the success of his life to his time in his Boys and Girls Club chapter growing up. So we know the good that these can do.
Yeah. A lot of kids talk about access, and I think that word means a lot to a lot of people, but a Boys and Girls Club can provide a child with a certain amount of access, whether that's to technology, whether that's to a positive adult role model, food, programming, whatever it may be. A Boys and Girls Club can really just provide access in a way that you might not get if when you get off the school bus, you're just going home and going to your house and doing nothing else. So I want to see when the kids come to us that whatever it is that they're participating in, taking advantage of, that in some way a light bulb is going off about, what they can become. Isn't that such a beautiful thing to think about? Just putting opportunity in front of someone and allowing a child to really think about what they can be, what they can grow into, and to know that their Boys and Girls Club is going to support them through that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're helping them access their full potential. And I know for my generation, being the first latchkey generation, going home to an empty house because both parents weren't there, Boys and Girls Club is one of the greatest gifts I think we can give to our kids. So, not to be heavy-handed with it and all, but, save a kid's life, give money today to Boys and Girls Club.
Absolutely. I love that. Yeah. And listen, I know we said this earlier, but any amount helps us do the work that we do. And you can direct those dollars how you want as well. If you're in a certain community and you want to ensure that your dollars stay there, we are happy to accommodate that. And people invest in this work at all levels, truly. I mean, people know about our longtime duck race that we just wrapped up. That gives people an opportunity to invest $5, as little as $5 in Boys and Girls Clubs. And of course, we have donors at every level into huge, massive amounts of money that we're given each year. But every dollar helps us do the work that we do. And again, all of us, we are called to invest in our community in whatever way that looks like. It maybe it's your child's school, but maybe it's in a broader cause. We know that we have a great animal shelter here. I mean, you name it. But we should all pick one thing and really get passionate about it and figure out, not only from a financial standpoint, how am I supporting this, but with your time and your talents as well. Because we all need dollars to operate, right? We also need great people who want to give back and to be a part of this mission to help us achieve what we're trying to achieve. It can't be done just with staff. It needs buy-in from the broader community.
Time, talent, and treasure. That's what we all have to give. And so today, that's what it's all about, is making sure that you give. Missy, thank you so much for being with us today and talking about everything that y'all are doing at the Boys and Girls Club and giving people a chance to support your mission and the good work y'all are doing to help make our community a better place. Hey, everybody.
Thanks for having me, Jackie. Thanks for doing this. What a fun way to showcase so many people.
I mean, it's going to be a long day, but it's a good one. And coming up next, we have Faith House at 1 o'clock, and we're going till midnight. So pick an hour and tune in, and you'll see what's going on. Missy, thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jackie.